These terms get thrown out into the mainstream before they're really properly defined.
An online 3D space where you have an avatar representing yourself.
Convergence of your digital and physical realities, meaning increasingly important digital presence and your virtual presence sort of coming together.
That allows us to inhabit the web, both URL, right, in the digital sphere, and IRL in the physical sphere.
Can mean everything and nothing for now. It's like the web and internet when it started.
We invited 12 senior executives of advertising agencies and Web3 platforms to shed light on what the metaverse is and how brands can enter the space and do so in an ethical way. Wikipedia defines the metaverse as a network of 3D virtual worlds focused on social connection. But let's dig deeper than this.
I think people instantly think of Ready Player One and headsets. And, I've worked in virtual reality and augmented reality for the last 7 years, and putting headsets on people is as much of a challenge now as it was then, 7, 8 years ago. So I think, the way people will be interacting with the metaverse and using it certainly short term is far more mobile phone, computer screen gaming.
This can mean all different things. Facebook has obviously rebranded themselves to Meta, and they're developing these virtual worlds where people can engage as their avatars, but there's also whole digital economies. Though there are many players sort of leading in the space today, everyone from Roblox to Fortnite to decentralized worlds like Decentraland or Sandbox, there is sort of two different schools of thought, tale of two metaverses, if you will, with the centralized companies and then the totally decentralized ecosystems, both trying to build what they believe to be the next metaverse.
In our view, the Web3 component of the metaverse is the ability for creators and users to own the digital content. As opposed to in Web 2, the content is owned by the tech platform.
In some ways, and we're already living in the metaverse, this digital world that's all around us that occupies our time and our attention. But the UI is terrible. We're scrolling through things and liking, and that's how it's been for the last 15, 20 years. But in the metaverse, you can hug somebody or dance with somebody or have things that feel more natural.
Right now, the internet is something that you see. Soon, the internet is something that you're going to be a part of. And I know that sounds a little bit dystopian, but at the same time, it's a really interesting concept. What the metaverse allows is basically this doorway, this pathway into creating really interesting experiences for brands and businesses and for human beings and individuals that have this non-binary aspect of physical and digital, right? It just goes from one to the other. And I think a lot of that non-binary URL, IRL engagement and interface is going to be predicated on Web3 kind of dynamics, right? Decentralization, blockchain platformization, tokenization, et cetera.
Can you define what the blockchain is and how does it tie into the metaverse?
Many people are first aware of blockchain as it relates to cryptocurrency, but there are actually use cases for blockchain that span far beyond just crypto. But at its simplest form, it's really a database that stores information in an immutable fashion. What that means is that it's not something that can be hacked, because unlike centralized servers that sort of rely on one infrastructure, a blockchain is based on the idea of building a decentralized way that cannot be hacked.
Instead of on one server, it exists on millions of computers decentralized throughout the world. In a weird way, that's a little bit of a threat to brands.
Can you talk more about NFTs and how they can be valuable to brands?
I think a lot of people, when they hear NFTs, just think about speculative investing and crypto punks and things like that. But the reality is non-fungible tokens represent digital asset ownership, and digital asset ownership verifiable on the blockchain.
That contains a smart contract that allows the owner to use that smart contract in various different ways, depending upon what the reason of that NFT exists.
Right now in the sandbox, we see 4 verticals that are really taking off. Number 1 is gaming. It's pretty obvious. A lot of gaming companies are interested in NFTs because for them, it's like selling micro items in the game in the form of NFTs. We have a lot of companies in the entertainment space selling NFTs, for example, concert tickets, or also digital or in real life experience. So basically an NFT is like a unique ticket to access something. Digital fashion, as I was saying, is really, really taking off very quickly because like in the real world, fashion is about your identity and in the digital world as well. And identity is very important and digital fashion is going to be part of your identity. So We have a lot of people willing to pay, a big price for digital sneakers, t-shirts, hats, and the likes in the form of NFTs. And then eventually our view at the Sandbox is that everything you do in the real life, you'll have a version of it inside the Sandbox. So that means NFT will be applied to education, to work, to retail, to shopping, to everything, basically.
The Web3 movement is all about, true ownership of things. Many gamers over the last 20 years have played games where they've put many hours of time and money into playing a game, and then they grow out of that game over a period of years, and they can't take any of that time, energy, money with them. It's still all just locked into that game, and that business model is just not fair on the people. So NFTs offer a way of changing that completely, and if you've finished playing that game, you can sell your NFTs and move on to the next one.
The tokenization of IP is really interesting for brands, because brands do have a ton of inherent ingrained IP, not just historically, but just temporally right now. And so the use of tokenization to unlock that IP, to use that IP in more creative ways through blockchain and smart contracts, is a whole new area of expertise and strategy that needs to be approached by a smart brand who would start asking those questions, like, how does our IP show up in Web3? Not just do we build our own store in Decentraland or Sandbox. That's low level. It's more like, how do we as a brand occupy this new world? What do we want to do?
How does the technology underpinning the metaverse impact brand consumer relationships and communications?
Brands entering the metaverse is really creating a new experience, and it's really on a case-by-case basis. What it is, every company is different. If you're a fashion company, maybe you'll do fashion shows in the metaverse. If you're a car company, maybe you do car racing. Retail, you can recreate a store. So I think the metaverse is more about doing business rather than just promoting product or services.
That mind shift needs to occur. If I'm a brand manager or CMO, the metaverse provides an unbelievable opportunity for my brand to provide value in a new experience for my customer. It does not provide a new media channel for me to start marketing. The value creation in the metaverse is additive, creative, not extractive. So if I'm adding value into the metaverse, I'm a player in the metaverse. If I'm extracting value out of the metaverse, I'm going to get found out and no one's going to really participate with me.
Right now, the platforms are not connected. You can think about the different metaverses similar to how you think about your different social networks, where you have Facebook and you have Twitter and you have Snapchat and TikTok. And while they're similar, they're not the same. That is the sort of current state of affairs as it relates to the metaverse, is you have Sandbox and Decentraland and Roblox and Fortnite. And while they're similar, they're not the same. These are all sort of individually created for now, but in the future, there's a vision that these will be increasingly interoperable as linked through what's in your wallet.
It's a really good way of tapping into global audiences and having instant transactions, and going back to the community and utility. It's brands don't have their fan base's bank account details, but they will have their wallet address. So if they want to drop a gift that's a promotion into that wallet, they can just do it. So they're forever connected with the people that are engaged with their brand. And that's something revolutionary.